Welcome everyone to another episode of Sotong Sessions. You are on with
Candice,
Delia,
and Jazz. And y'all, today, listen, we done gathered under some interesting circumstances throughout 2020. Little did we know it was going to spill over into 2021. But here we are. Y'all might be wondering what's up with this pop-up episode. We had to talk about it. Y'all are getting an unfiltered, raw episode today. This conversation is coming to y'all fresh. Current events just happened yesterday. So we're going to sit down and we are going to talk about it because that's what we do. So ladies, first of all, I had to wear my earrings. I had to bring them back to remind everyone that sees this video that Black lives still matter. Well, we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that. But I want to start with first just initial reactions. How did y'all feel? Where were you? What did you see when this news first broke about these Trump supporters storming the Capitol?
I was getting myself ready for the day, first thing in the morning, and I got a text message from my dad. And he was like, stay out of the streets. And I was like, Dad, first of all, I don't go in the streets. You know this. Second of all, what are you talking about? Like, I didn't know what was going on. So he explained a little bit and I was like, okay. So that was the first I heard about it. And then as the day progressed, I was getting news updates on my phone as I was working. My co-teacher every once in a while, and I would kind of talk about what was happening. And so then we're just kind of being updated as the day progressed.
Mm-hmm.
How were you feeling when you were like hearing everything? Like what was going through your mind?
So I'm in DC, right? I'm near DC. So there are a lot of protests. There are a lot of people that go out. And so at first I thought it was just going to be a standard protest. You know, people are out protesting. It's what happens, especially here in the Capitol. So I was not expecting it to be on the level that it was. And then my reaction initially was just, what the fuck? Like we said unfiltered, right, y'all? So that was my reaction, was what, like, anybody else who storms a national capital gets shot and labeled terrorists. So like my mind still is struggling to understand how it got that far. Like I understand why it got that far. Like I get it, but my mind is still like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Candice, what about you?
So I am clenching my jaw. I realize this is something that I do when I'm like trying to hold back an emotion or suppressing emotions. And even now, like as Dee was talking, I can feel myself doing it. Like I'm cognizant of it now. Mm-hmm. So I think like a part of me is very afraid to even bring it up because I don't know what's going to come out and how long it'll last. I think like when I heard about Breonna Taylor, I cried for 10 days. Like, so I booked a therapy session for tomorrow because I was like, yo, I feel, I think I said this to y'all before, but my worst fear is my suspicions of this nation being confirmed. And I'm like, so, okay, y'all, like you can show decency to people and you don't just shoot people at will, you just shoot us at will. Mm-hmm. Like you'll go as far as to letting them come up in our house, the nation's house, like taking statues, vandalizing. You got senators and Congress people like on the floor, mm-hmm. and you're tussling with them in the lobby. Nobody gets a rubber bullet. Nobody gets tased. Like, did you see those scenes where they're like fighting with the cops, like hand-to-hand combat? I'm like, whoa, combat? Like, right. You can get that close and you're still like not choking nobody out. You're still not 7 shots in the back. So I was like, oh, and I didn't want to believe it. But I'm like, oh, it's not all protesters. It's not all people who stand up. It's not patriotism. Mm-hmm. it's just us. Like, it's just us.
Mhm.
Like, we're teachers, so we always try to remove the possibility of ignorance. Like, okay, let's educate and make sure, so you can't say I didn't know, right? Like, that's my biggest thing. So there's been like all of these opportunities to prove, like, is it just ignorance, and that was like the icing on the cake. Oh, it's not.
Mhm.
It, like, I don't even know what to do. This is why I keep a storage unit, though. See, because I was like, you know what?
Girl, why did I almost text you today and be like, so that storage unit though? Like,
Right.
what we doing?
It's in Yangjae. You could go straight from Incheon Airport to the unit. Yangjae.
Good train ride.
I couldn't even believe
It's like you can't, but you can, because it's
Right.
what you're saying,
yes.
right? It's a confirmation. How many confirmations do we need? You know, when you pray and you be like, Lord, just send me a sign, and he sends you a sign, and then again and again and again. That's where we're at. Like, bruh, how many signs does America need for us to be like, yo, it's really just us. It's really literally physically just Black people that get shot down.
Yep.
Just us. Like, I saw this meme. First of all, let me back it up to yesterday for me. This week has been crazy work-wise. So I have not had much time, energy, space to hold for anything else in my brain. It's just, I can't. So yesterday, I physically went to work. I went to our office, which rarely happens, but we had a project to work on. So I went in. So all day, like, I'm not even on my phone. I'm working, like, driving. My commute to work is almost an hour. So I'm in the car driving. Like, so by the time I get home in the afternoon, I turn on the TV and it's breaking news. And I'm like, what is this? All you hear, like, before the picture even shows up on the screen, you just hear chaos. And I'm like, what happened? So then I'm going through the news. I turn on CNN. I'm getting all the updates. The first thing I do is go on my phone and turn off all alerts from social media. Nope, not doing that. Clubhouse, nope, not doing that. Don't want to hear y'all. Not doing that today. So yeah, I'm getting all these updates. My brother and sister-in-law called and was like, yo, like, let's talk about it. And I was like, I can't.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is there to say? I can't even process this right now. Like, given the day that I had, or on any other day, like, I can't. What are we doing, America? Like, really? But yeah, I don't know. I saw this meme. I did see this meme today though, and it said, shoot, what did it say? It was like, we don't want y'all to shoot them down like y'all shoot us down. We want y'all to not shoot us like you don't shoot them. And that perfectly summed it up. It's like, yeah, like, why is it that the Black people get shot down, but the white people do not get shot down, do not get handcuffed, do not get read their rights, do not get pepper spray, rubber bullet, like nothing, bro. Y'all saw the video of the security officer running up the steps and the mom is chasing him. He's running away, like physically running away. When does that ever happen to us? Like, it's disgusting. I'm disgusted. And honestly, like, on a global scale, my brother brought up this point. He's like, yeah, America is turning into a mockery. I said, we've been a mockery. We've been a joke on the global scene. Like, there is no America is the greatest nation. America, no, we're a joke.
No. The only people that think America is the greatest nation are the people who stormed the building today or yesterday. That's it. They're the only ones. We're not. If you ask people outside of the country, we are not. There are a lot of things that are great about our country and about our nation that I love, but there's a lot of stuff that is not okay. And we, like you said, Jazz, we just keep getting confirmation time after time after time that stuff is not okay here. And what happened yesterday was not okay. And it's absolutely ridiculous. Not even just like oh yeah, they stormed the government building or whatever, but who stormed the government building? Why did they storm the government building? They were allowed to, they were encouraged to. Let's be real, they were encouraged to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like, these people were encouraged, and this was an organized situation. This wasn't no last minute nothing. Most of the people don't even live here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, this was organized and encouraged, and then not like, oh yeah, I agree with you and I feel your pain, but go home. Nah, that's half-assed. Half-assed. Not even half. Just
and
ass.
you there? Like what home? Holiday Inn? Like,
But
they was looking for the town hall after that. Like, okay, let's go on to the next building. Like,
but we heard it during the presidential debate. Their call to action went out. Stand back, stand by, whatever he said. Well,
Yep.
here they
it
are.
went out earlier that day. They had a rally. Trump had a rally earlier that day, and they walked from the rally to the Capitol building. They were prepared. You saw people rappelling. So I'm like, you brought ropes with you? That big ass Trump flag? You can't get that at the store. You had to order that.
And then Biden's statement, this is not the America I know. It's the America we know, Joe. It's the America we live in. This is our reality, Joe.
Right.
Like, what do you mean? I can't stand when people say that. It's like, you literally don't see. Like, you do not see that this is a reality. It's playing out in front of your face, but it's been undercover for the history of this nation. Like, this is what it looks like.
Right. And even in the midst of all that, that's the rhetoric that they're using to still try to cover it up. Is this is not our America. This is not who we are. This is not what we're about. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And we've seen it time and time and time again. The only difference is the people who did it this time have white faces. So now you're all of a sudden like, oh no, this is not us. We didn't do this. We've been saying it for centuries. This is who y'all are. This is what we live in. So that makes me mad too. It makes me really, really angry when I hear that sentiment. Cause I'm like, I saw another meme. It was a cartoon character of like a Black kid with their lips pursed, like, it's like, all Black people sitting down looking at white people like, we done been on this.
Y'all late.
This is the reality for us on a daily.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know my soul hurt when I don't got nothing to say. I'm like hurt on so many levels. Number one, I'm waiting because the mayor of DC is not to be trifled with. So I'm like, I don't know. But then the second thing is like, there was these pictures of when Black Lives Matter protests were happening and the Capitol building was basically secured by the National Guard. They were in military gear, standing up here like, come close if you want to. Nobody was storming anything. There was no felonies being committed. The number of felonies committed yesterday, like, are you kidding me? Okay, people are just marching. Okay. Yesterday, same steps, side by side, you see like just guards, what is it, Capitol Hill guards, okay? So they got sticks. They don't have gas, they don't have nothing, right? Completely covered with, insurgents. I'm like, so Black people marching 50 feet away legally was cause to bring in the National Guard and stand in front. You had senators, you had our entire Congress in session. I ain't seen not one military uniform. And they walked there, okay? They walked from a rally, so you had time.
Yeah.
You knew they were coming.
Yeah.
You sent them. So you saw this situation escalate and there's still no National Guard. Okay, I get that you use your National Guard on Black people and not on white people. That's also a crime. That's something you're gonna have to answer for. And if no one's gonna bring it up for it to get answered for, then I'm writing letters because that needs to be answered for. Like that's something like we can all see, white or Black, like that's not supposed to happen, right? Surely.
Yeah.
Like this was supposed to be Stacey Abrams' day, y'all. Like I was like watching the news. I turned it on because I'm like, the results are coming in. I'm watching a little ticker at the bottom. That's the only reason why I saw the whole thing. Like I couldn't even get up from my seat. I just watched all day long, which is probably not a good idea. Because I kept waiting for Stacey to do what Stacey do. I was watching CBS for most of it. They forgot to even call it. They were like, oh yeah, an hour ago, Democrats took this in. And I'm like, I was like, poor Stacey. Every time, like, That was supposed to be the news. Like,
No. Mm-mm.
mm-mm.
It is interesting though that our mere presence and the color of our skin warrants that much security and that much attention,
But people with flags and what is it?
And then the media too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where were the labels of terrorist, thug, all those other things that we get called when white people do it? It's you want to gloss over it and smooth it over and understand, learn, and ask.
Protesters have stormed. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
I'll say, at what point do you stop calling them protesters? When they got their feet on Nancy Pelosi's desk, writing her notes, looking at all of whatever documents she got out.
Stealing her mail.
That's a felony.
And
that's a felony if you did that from a blue box on the side of the corner.
You did it
exactly.
Exactly.
I said, we need to start posting pictures. Who is this? Who is this? Who is this? Because the number of arrests not made last night, jails in the whole DMV area need to be packed with these people by now. Mm-hmm. All of them. Yeah. Because they put in a curfew and the news is covering it. These people were still on the streets at curfew, standing here, police are here. Thomas, we got a situation. No, you don't. Because if you're looking at them, they're violating curfew. Mm-hmm. All of them need to be on the ground in handcuffs. Mm-hmm. What are we saying? Mm-hmm. I'm zooming in and screenshot. Who is this dude? Who is him?
You know what? Sean King is good for that. He will post a picture and be like, who is this man? Give me his name. Give me his badge number. If it's an officer, he calls people out all the time. And I love it. I'm like, that's the accountability that we need.
It has to happen. It has to happen. Because it has to happen. Like, that's prison time for all of y'all. Like, period.
Because then the sad situation is the curfew went into effect, but then the people that get caught up by that curfew are the people coming home from work who live in that neighborhood. You already know. They didn't go to jail.
I had the right to come home at 6, and now.
Right. But now I can't because I got curfew because of you, because of this situation. So now I'm getting caught up because of that. So not the people who are supposed to be getting caught up, but me because of where I'm living. Like what?
Meanwhile, with cameras running, cops, insurgents, 6:15, 6:45, we have the situation under control. That was the report. I'm like, you don't. You're looking at them.
Right. That would not have been the situation had they been a different color, hands down.
Everybody would have been on the ground. Are you kidding me? Everybody would have been on the ground, handcuffed. They said during the Black Lives Matter protests, 14,000 people were arrested. 14,000. Mm-hmm. If I don't see
equal, go ahead, say it. Go ahead, say it. At least 20.
What? No, I need to see a good 100. It needs to be a significant deterrent.
Yeah, no.
I want the whole lot of them. Like, get all of them. We will screenshot. We got good. You know what I'm saying? We can Adobe. We can do what we need to do. But I know that's too much to ask.
Check the airplane manifests. Okay.
Yes. Because you know they were wearing their gear on the plane. They ain't got no shame. Who was on that United 325 out of Omaha? Who was on the
airplane manifest? You know exactly where they are and where they came from. Come on now.
Southwest Flower. Who else fly over there? All of the cheap ones.
Yeah.
They was on those planes.
Now just looking at this scape of like from an aerial, you know, they got the news cameras in the sky looking down on the situation. And you know, that's the image that's going to be plastered all over the international news. That's what people in other countries are going to see. Like, look at America again. Here they go again. You know what I mean? Like, it's like
over the same thing.
Dang, over the same thing.
It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. And it's painful to watch.
It's painful to live. It's painful to live.
Like, it's painful to stick around for. That's for damn sure. I'm like, Lord, testing thy soul. Seriously, my roommate came home and I was like, yo, I got that ticket left. Like, what you want to do? Like, my heart is broken. And I didn't think it could break no more. I was just starting to heal. My heart is broken. And I think because we travel a lot, because we represent like that voice of like inside, outside view, we know what this does when other nations see that. We know what it does, both good and bad. You think people who aren't like enemies of this state haven't found the crack?
The crack,
say, okay.
the Grand Canyon, the great gaping hole. Like this ain't even
vibe.
It's not a crack no more. Mm-mm.
Oh my God.
It grieves. Like I feel grieved. I don't know if that's just kind of the word. And then Candice, you mentioned being a teacher. As a teacher, having to get up today and sit in front of my babies and carry that burden for myself, but then also having to be aware of what they may carry and what questions they might have. I almost cried for the first half hour of the day. Thank God for my co-teacher, because she kind of took the reins this morning. Because I was okay until they all came into the classroom and I saw all their faces. And I was like, this is what we're leaving these babies. Like, we're still not giving them a future of full positivity and hope. Like, I almost couldn't do it. I almost couldn't do it. And so me and my co-teacher actually just decided today that we weren't going to address it. If they asked a question, we would, but we weren't going to address it off of our own initiation until tomorrow. To give us a day to just kind of like figure it out for ourselves as adults and as women and as humans. And my co-teacher is white and I'm Black. And so we have those difference of perspectives. She's very much an ally, but we still have differences of perspectives. So it will be something that we discuss tomorrow, but it's heavy and it's hard. And I'm grieved.
Isn't that the Black experience though? As a Black person in America, these things happen, and then what do? Try to process it the best you can, and then you got to work the next morning.
That's what we do.
You know, like, it's already hard enough to focus when you're having a difficult week in a regular world. You know what I mean? Like, let alone stuff burning down all around you. And it's like, what do you do? Like, how do you process? How do you handle it? How do you go on with business as usual when this keeps happening?
I had this thing where I was like, I'm going to try to stop like pushing through and burying it deep and carrying on, right? Like I'm going to stop, and because that's a thing that like privileged people don't do that, they take the day, they can just be like, all right, I'm gonna chill out or whatever. So I was like, I'm just gonna stop and be a human and say, nope, this hurts. I'm not doing that. I need to think. I was just starting it, but now with this, I'm like, I can't even. Everything inside of me just wants to bury it deep, pretend, just pretend. How do you feel personally? Like how do you get up and go on? Like, what was your mindset today? How did you push through or not? Or like, how do you deal with it on a personal level?
I don't know. Like you said, I think we have that itch to escape. Like, that escapism is real, and you just want to be like, yo, bump this, But now we all have whole adult lives set up in America, and it's not that easy to just get up and walk away, I don't know. I think, like I said, my week was already hectic. Like I'm just this on top of everything else that I had on my plate was just like, dang, like here we are again. Like, here we go. We're here again. Yeah. So I don't know. I feel numb, of course. That's like a default. Every time something happens, it's just like, well, that collective sigh, like, we told y'all. But I think I don't know. It's tough to to dig deeper and do the work to actually process those deeper feelings of frustration, anger, bitterness, all those things that we feel and experience as Black people, it's hard to go there.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
Dee, how about you? Like, what was your thought process this morning, and how did you make it through the day? Like, what do you have to do or tell yourself to get through the day when you got kids that you don't want to crash their joy?
Well, last night I located my passport. Make sure that I knew where it was. And
I'm
that
gonna send you the address to the storage you can ship it ahead of time.
because I thought it was going to expire in 2021. It expires in 2022, so I got me some time.
You're good.
And then I got up this morning and I made breakfast. And to be quite honest, that was really all I could do, was to just get up and make breakfast and then sit down and just look into the faces of my kids. They kept me grounded today.
Mm-hmm.
They kept me centered. If it hadn't have been for them, I don't know what my day would have looked like, you know? But because I had to focus on them, I kind of had to put myself, not at the back burner, but I kind of had to make space for myself to be their teacher today, as opposed for me being Delia. And I think that it is really hard. I agree with Jazz. It's hard to figure out how to process this and like what I'm going to do for myself. You guys know, I mean, you as in Candace and Jazzy know, I'm not very good at processing. So for me, I think if and when I decide to do that work, part of it will probably take place with some bath bombs. But and I don't particularly like to journal, but at times like this, I feel like I have to, because it's the only way that I can reconcile what's going on in my head and it's the only way. So there will be that too. But I think today for me was really just get up, get out of bed, make some food, love on your babies. Like that's really all I was able to do today.
Yeah. But then Candace, I want to hear your thoughts too. But another thought I have is like, as people of faith, how do we reconcile that too? You know what I mean? Keep this situation in your thoughts and prayers, pray. What are we praying about? Who are we praying for? And what does the Bible say about this? Like, part of me is like, yo, the Bible already talks about how the last days are going to be crazy out here. It's going to be crazy and it's going to get worse. So where does that leave us? You know what I mean? Like, I think it's an interesting place to be in right now. But Candace,
I don't think this is particularly last day behavior to that extent, to be honest, because, and I only say that, well, one, looking at how things went down in the Bible, and those were early days and we haven't hit that yet. And then two, there are nations that have dealt with the storming of Bastilles and Capitol buildings and far worse, and live with it on a regular day. And to put it into perspective, that was a light situation comparatively. When we want to talk about it's just very, like, when I see people see like what happened yesterday, like, oh, these are the end times, I'm like, that's a very American perspective. Like, talk to people in the Sudan who've seen worse and have endured worse for years and years and years. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I just don't like that rhetoric. It to me sounds like rhetoric. And this is me coming from a theologian background, right? Like, so that's my perspective on that. That's why I'm a bit cautious about that expression when America suffers a blow internally. What we're looking at is civil war at best, right? Like, it's when your insides are caving in on each other through the actions of men. I think last they gonna look a little something outside this world, you know. But I said to the Lord today, I said, Lord, number one, this is above me now. Like,
it's above me now.
It's above me now. Because there's always that feeling like, oh, if I know, you know better, you do better, right? Like, what can I contribute? And I serve like some branch of this government to some extent. So like, okay, what does my service look like? Like, what would a person of service do in this situation? And then I was like, fuck service. Like, I've been trying my hardest to serve a nation that refuses to serve me. Like, and I put that into question. I'm like, I'm serving so that I can have criteria that proves to my nation that I'm worthy. Like, would you shoot an AmeriCorps volunteer? Would you shoot a Peace Corps volunteer? Like, that's what's going on in the back of my mind. Like, all of that got called into question. And like, why? Like, why do I keep trying to prove to this nation that I'm worth living and surviving and that I contribute, you know? I say this all the time, like, this nation does not value the individual, it values its businesses, right? Like, it treats enterprises better than
that.
And then on top of that, like, Black people, if you're going to look at people, you're going to value Black people even less, and Black women to a lesser extent. So I just don't know why we keep spinning our fucking wheels in this country. Like, Thailand don't appeal.
That's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm getting at when I say the Bible talks about last days. I'm not talking about necessarily like bombings and terrorism. I'm talking about the state of man and hearts and how we treat each other. Like that passage that talks about, you know, men will be lovers of self and all this. Like, there's something fundamentally wrong with people. Like, it's people, how we treat each other, how we see each other, valuing life. Like, those are the things that make me say things like what I'm saying. It's not necessarily like circumstances, but it's how what is going on to the point where we treat each other like this. You know what I mean? Like, what is causing this sort of internal eruption? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I've been places where they don't treat each other like this, though. And those places are still there, and those groups are still there. This just isn't one of them. So that's why I keep going back and forth. Like, one thing, though, I think, Jasmine, you said in a previous episode that Black people especially, we are a resilient people and we are a people of hope. And that was the other conversation I had to have with the Lord Six. I was like, our ancestors saw this personally. It was personal for them. We're watching it like, that could be us. That could be me. I was watching it like, fuck, I hope D ain't on them streets. Like, you know, but it was them all the time. And they, like Delia said, you go in and you see the faces of your babies and you're like, push through for them. And I think our ancestors saw their children, their children's children, they had vision. And then they kept fighting. They fought for better and better and better so that we could sit here and have these conversations, not in the best of circumstances, but in better circumstances. And I've said this to y'all before. I don't think I'm as strong as our ancestors were. Not at all. Like, I'm on the brink of saying, fuck it. I keep trying to endure and think for the future and build something that our children can benefit from. And I don't think, like, this one was like, yeah. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. It's time for me to change my passport. I think I'm ready to denounce citizenship altogether. I'm very tired. There's Jack in my cup today. See if Jack can calm me down.
Yeah. This is, yeah. It's hard.
No, none of your kids saw it today or talked about it or had anything, Delia? They were all normal?
I know that they did see it. But there was no conversation around it from their perspective. We weren't quite sure if we would get kids who would say something, because a lot of times we do, but nobody said anything today until after school. Actually, I had a conversation with a parent and one of my students after school. And it wasn't even about that. Like, we were doing something else and then the topic came up. but the conversation was entering a no fucks giving zone. Like I was not going to do well in that conversation. And so thankfully my co-teacher took the reins and was like, okay, so we're going to get back on topic and discuss this. Because the conversation was definitely entering a place where I was probably not going to professionally be able to come back from. So thankful for her. But I know that I'm pretty sure that tomorrow, you know, and our administrators have been sending us resources and things for us to share. And I really didn't have the bandwidth for any of that today. But I know that other classes are addressing it, are talking about it. And so we will most likely bring it up to the students. It's just, I already know that there are going to be students who, I mean, they're 9 and 10, right? So they understand it to a certain extent, but they don't fully understand the gravity of the situation. So I know that some of them are going to be just kind of fascinated with the idea that these people stormed the nation's capital, and it's going to be kind of a fantastical thing for them. And they're going to address it in that way. And then I know that some others will be like, that was not okay, and that was wrong, and they shouldn't be allowed to do that. And it's not, if someone in my family did that, that wouldn't be okay. You know, so there's going to be a very wide range, I think. And so just trying to mentally and emotionally prepare myself for that conversation is what tomorrow will look like. But yeah, I don't know.
It just occurred to me that there are two conversations. I just realized like the conversation we're having is not the national conversation about what happened. Like I'm only just now calculating like, oh wait, this is not the conversation, right?
Yeah. It's the conversation in our community, in the Black community, but it's not the global topic, and it won't be, because again, this is our life, right? Toggling between these two worlds, between the mainstream and our community and what we go through and how that relates, you know what I mean? So to some people who see this, they're gonna be like, what? Like there's no correlation here when there absolutely is. And that's the frustration of the Black experience, right? Having to explain, having to justify how we feel and why we think this way and why we feel this way, all of those things. It's a lot. It's exhausting.
I
saw something, somebody was like, well, December 37th, 2020. Like, you know, I mean, obviously we didn't walk into 2021 just magically expecting it to be different. We obviously knew that.
It's gonna be a little something.
You know, but it was just, it's hard. It's really hard. And Jazzy, just to your question earlier, like, what do you pray for? I don't know. You know, like, do I pray Maranatha? Like,
somebody pray. Somebody pray.
You know what I mean? Like, what do I pray? I don't know, because I am at that point where I'm like, Lord, take me out, take me home, take me somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this no more. You know, like, this is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, what's the solution? I don't know. Take them all out. Like, that's the other, just take them out. Is that an option? Can you do that? Can you cherry, you know, like, I don't know. What do we need to do? Do we need to put the on the doorpost again? Like, what?
At my house.
Run that back.
Do you know,
run that miracle back?
Right. Like, I don't know.
Dust that one off and bring it back.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There is, I mean, it's still fresh. So the national conversation on this issue is about to start. And I'm worried, like, that's going to be triggering as fuck. Like, because it's not going to be this. It's not going to be that those pictures parallel of National Guard standing on Capitol Hill because Black people are marching down the street legally versus all of the insurgents that were scaffolding down the side of the Capitol building with no no National Guard in sight.
Well, I will say this. I now watch ESPN every morning.
That's one safe station.
Being a wife, that happened naturally.
Mhm.
And I don't know if I was surprised, but I did see it this morning. You know, Stephen A, of course, he's going to talk about it. But seeing Max join in, and he's like, he brought up the, you know, the parallel pictures and how it's different. And so I think 2020 kind of, we got some woke allies, some white woke allies now, and they're starting to join the conversation that we've always had, you know. So seeing commentators on sports news talking about the situation and how it affects our community, that was something different. So I don't know, maybe, I think it depends on the media outlet, right? But I think there are some people who do recognize and who are willing to engage and to put those pieces together and to start that conversation. So I don't know. We'll see.
That's good.
That's that little seed of hope. That maybe that's the only little bit that we can cling on to for the time being.
That the conversation is getting more, as bigger, happening more often.
Yeah.
Jazz do come through with the hope segment though. Good job, Jazz.
Try a little bit. But to all our listeners, I mean, I know we have listeners all over the place, all over the globe, literally. So we know that people are just now starting to dig into this issue. Y'all might be like us, still processing, still, you know, figuring everything out. There's no easy solution, but we encourage our listeners to take time, take space, do what you need to do for self-care and for processing, because it is important, and it's not a good time to just bury everything. Well,
you guys, and leave us comments. Like, we like a conversation. We do have that duality of perspective, so we are able to see outside of how it affects us personally. And we love to interact with people. I think I'll post a link in our YouTube, but we have, if you're listening on podcasts, you can actually leave a message, a voice message, and we can hear those. So I'll put a link as well. If you want to leave us a message, a question or whatever, you can do that as well. That's all. That's what we contribute. We contribute discourse, and that's hope in that.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Until next time.